So we have a tender file, it's ready, we're ready to send it to ESA. Now we can officially, from this tender file, produce our reports, our PSS forms and our specific reports that are required in the ECOS requirements in our special conditions of tender. So to print your reports is actually very easy, because if you go at the top of your screen, there is a button that says Reports. And if you click on it, basically what you will see is the list of all reports available in ECOS. There is a lot of them. There are a lot of them, but here I will introduce you the most useful ones and the most common ones. While you will click on one form, you will be asked to choose between the different setups. You can choose to export it as a grid, which means that you will export raw data and you will be able to copy and paste it into Excel. You can choose to print it as a PDF, and this is what we will do. So you can save the location of your PDF and you're able to retrieve later your form in a PDF format. And the preview version, the preview option is the same, except that you do not produce the PDF as itself, you simply preview it within the ECOS reports environment. And that can be useful if you don't want to extract it, if you want to check information before, for example. So basically we can define two types of forms. There is the PSS forms, that are the standard forms included into the ESA evaluations. And there is the standard reports that belongs to ECOS, that can be also very useful to produce and are more, let's say, on the side. The official forms that have to be produced are the PSS forms. So PSS stands for Procedures, Standards and Specification forms. And it's very important to note that they can be printed only using ECOS. So it happens that we would receive some macros, some Excel files, some forms that have been rebuilt from industry, but on the moment that an ECOS file was required in order to perform the job of reporting, financial proposal reporting, we will ask industry to provide and the ECOS tender file that was used in order to produce these forms and the forms themselves. So because it's easy from the tender file to produce these forms, basically we will ask you only a few, and if we need more, we will be able to produce them ourselves anyways. So that's why in the past we used to ask a lot of PSS forms, a lot of forms in general. Today, only a few of them are needed to be included in the proposal. PSS forms are valid only if delivered together with their ECOS tender file. A PSS form that stands without the associated tender file is not valid, because we need to be able to verify the informations, of course. So I invite you to go on Emits to see the different templates that are available for each of these forms. And what I've tried to do here is basically to show you today the forms that are the most important ones. So in pink are the mandatory one, I would say, the most important of them being the PSSA2, which is the price breakdown form. This will be required for any proposal for any project. Then the PSSA 10, the work package manpower and cost plan, is very often required as well, together with the PSSA 15.1, which will show the price projection versus payment. In blue, these are some PSS that are good to have and good to produce, especially for you if you want to check at your data. These are the PSSA 1, which is in fact a resume of your rates file. The PSSA 6, which lists the contract price summary and gives the total contract price. The PSSA 8, that breaks down the price summary at work package level. And all the reports I left in gray are also important and could be potentially requested, but it's more rare. Therefore, for the purpose of this training, we want to target the most important. So let's see now more in details what is behind each of these PSS forms. We will be looking at the PSSA 1, the PSSA 2, 6, 8, 10, and 15.1. Just briefly, because remember that in the prerequisites of the training, we ask you to be already familiar with these forms. This is not a training about PSS forms. I can show you very quickly what they look like and what they should be looking like once you will be producing them. So starting with the PSSA 1, the rate file. So here in each of the slides, I've shown at the left, here is the menu option that will be available in ECOS while customizing your report. And at the right is the preview. It's the result. So this is not exactly reflecting the training. This was part of another presentation from another example that was given to industry in the past. But what I've done is that I prepared for you a folder, also in the supporting files, where I've already extracted all PSS forms that we will see today, the A1, A2, A6, A8, A10, and A15.1. And we'll be going through quickly to see the real case example of the training. So now if I show you the PSSA1, the rate file, just to drive you into the ECOS environment for the first one, we can see here that if I click on report, I can choose rate files. You can run only one report at a time. So I understand, yeah, that I have some hidden reports here. You can always run only one report at a time, but ECOS will remind you. Okay, so I want the PSSA1. All of my reports are closed, and I want now to extract my PSSA1. This time it will work. Yes. Okay, so basically the way it's presented is that at the left you see you have some options that you can choose in order to customize your report. And at the right here is just a sample, it's a model of what the report should look like. So in the case of the rate file, here the only thing you can choose is the company code. So we will print the forms for all companies, but you see that you can choose to print it only if we are not the company A, you can print it only for yourself. So if you want to select the companies for which you want to produce the report, the right thing to do is to press the Control key on your keyboard, and then you see you can easily select and deselect the subcontractors. But in our case, we want to produce it for the all the companies, so we select them all and we close. And you see here you have some tick boxes, so you can include variation or not. You can include escalation, include or exclude the fixed unit prices. Let's say that my advice is always that by default is never wrong. So if you really don't know, the default options are the good ones. If you want to play with it and if you have a specific need, then of course I invite you to customize your reports. But in case of doubt, just always include the company code and click on printing your form. So you see now we customized at the level we wanted. So we can choose to print the report. We can define the folder that we want to put our PSS in. But in my case, I've done it already because here I prepared in the training support files for you the PSS form and reports. So what we can do in order to go a bit faster on this section is to open them from my folder. Okay, so let's have a look at the PSS A1. So you see, basically here what you can find is all information that you've been entering into your rate file. So you have your labor categories, you have the years here, basic labor hourly rates, your percentage of overheads, and ECOS have made the calculation. You can find the overheads on your other direct costs, also the one related to the G&A, percentages related to G&A and profit, variation, escalations, etc. So here, if you look at the top, always the form information will be at the top of each form. You know that this is the one related to the ITT1, so this is for the company A. You can find the validity period, the national currency of the form, the economic conditions. So please always have a look at the header. And we can see that here basically we have 2 pages for the company A, and then we go on to the company B. We have then the form related to the company B, you see, for the ITT12, the company C, company D. So basically by extracting the PSSA1 at Thunder Answer at high level, we will be able to retrieve the rates file for each of the subcontracting companies. Now the second form, and from far this is the most important one, this is your price breakdown form, the PSSA2. So at the left, you can choose here some options. You can produce it per contractual phase. So it can be very useful in the case of big procurements, because the ECOS file is so big and the amounts are so big that it can be very useful to have a breakdown per contractual phase to be able to reconcile the price overall and to have also less work packages to work on. So you can choose your contractual phase. You can also define at which level of your productory work breakdown structure you want to take the picture of the price breakdown, because it can be also at WBS level that you want only the PSSA2 form for your data handling subsystem, for example. Therefore, you would choose here only your WBS node B14 and C14 in the case of the training, and then you would have the price at data handling level, you see. Then which subcontract, which company code. So here you will also have the list of companies that have been integrated in this standard file, and you can choose to produce it for all companies or select only a few. Then remember, by default, you have here some options. The option to print the exhibit A, we strongly advise you to do it because anyways you will have to join to attach the exhibit A to your financial proposal when you will send it to ESA. So this is a good practice for you to print your PSSA2 form, including here already your exhibit A notes. Then you don't have to do it at a later stage. So let's click on the exhibit A. We can print details, print co-funding, we can print everything, and here we exclude cat 1 and 2, so we don't want to exclude anything. We just want to print our PSSA2 form like this. So I've done it, and here is the result in the case of our training. Okay, so you see here for the company A, we have the labor listed, the years, and here we have much more information because in fact we'll have the number of FTEs, the sold hours, the man hours, the manpower and effort, and a gross hourly rates here calculated by ECOS. Then you will have your internal special facilities. You remember we indicated number of units, unit rates. We had all of this information entered already. Then we'll have an overview on the other costs listed by cost item. Finally, some section on the G&A, R&D, and other overheads. So this will be calculated as per the percentages that we've been including in our rates files, together with the profit. And ECOS is in charge of calculating all the prices, the subcontractor price that have been integrated, if there is some company contribution related to the co-funding, for example, and to break down the price per firm fixed price or selling price, just breaking down per type of price. Then here you will have a second page, second section with the overheads and profits that were defined, variation and escalation. So you see here at company A level, I have a very detailed level of price breakdown. And I'm able to retrieve the cost entries that I've been making myself, right? You remember we had to enter first the labor, then the facilities, then the other direct costs, then our budgetary amounts. So this really follows the same logic. So I have a form for the company A. I have a third page for the company A, and this is what we call here the exhibit A to PSSA2. So basically here we will have listed all of our other costs items together with our WACs and subs, and we will be able to see the comments that were entered to explain where are these amounts coming from. So you can see it here for each of the cost items. And finally, there is also an exhibit B to the PSSA2. And this is, in fact, what will represent your travel plan. So the travel plan can be extracted as the exhibit A to as the exhibit B to PSSA 2. It can be also extracted, sorry, as a specific report. So now we've chosen to print the annexes to the PSSA 2, so we will be able to print and the exhibit A and the exhibit B. Exhibit B corresponds to our travel plan. So we can see here, we remember, right, our phase B2, where we have our trips. The same with the phase CD. And here, the phase E1. So this is the details of our travels. And now we will have the same for all companies. So you see there is this four pages of information related to the price. Now the PSSA 6, the total contract price summary. So this one can be also quite useful. It's not often requested, I would say. Most of the time we print it ourselves, but this is a very good way for you to follow on your price types and the price at the level of your subcontractors. So here, in order to customize your report, the only choice that you can actually really go for is the contractual phase. You can print it for each contractual phase or at the total level. So if we have a look at our PSSA 6, you see here, basically we have for all companies, so it's split in two parts. The first part is 2 pages and then we have a last page. You have the companies broken down at the level of the industrial chain. You can see here the little I cannot remember my word anymore. I will call them slash. And you see that there is 2 of them. It means that the company B is in fact under the company A, is a child of the company A. Then with another 2 level, we see that the company C is under the company B. So in fact, by looking at the report like that, we're able to follow the industrial structure of the form. Then we'll have information about the country, the products that have been developed, performed in the frame of our procurement, which type of price it is. It is very useful to have this information just at a glance. The national currency and the amounts in national currency and in euros. So you see here you have a very good overview of your price and how it is broken down in your industrial chain. Then you can find the total of the different types of prices. And you can also get another way to see it by company codes instead of WBS. So here you can really follow the structure, whereas here you have an amount at company level according to the type of price. And finally here you can have an overview on the exchange rates that are used to convert the euro to the national currency. It is very useful as well. And here you have details on the cities, countries, etc. Then PSSA 8 is the price summary, but this time at work package level. So the only difference here with the PSSA 2 is that it's like if it was a PSSA 2 in columns. and the columns would be the work packages. So the total of our PSSA 8 corresponds to the totals of our PSSA 2, simply broken down per work package, per activity. So you see here we can choose also the contractual phase. We can also split it at WBS level. And finally, choose some responsible company. So here the responsible company is the company A. So let's have a quick look at what a PSSA 8 looks like. Most of the time I tend to export it as a grid because this can be quite extended if you have a lot of work packages. So it's easier to have a view, I believe, on Excel with the columns rather than here having to split every time from one page to the next. So for you to find easily where you are, you can follow here the page 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. You see, every time try to match the results because otherwise it's not so easy to follow. And as you can see here, we find again our price breakdown form, right? This really is reflecting our PSSA2. But now at the top, the titles of my columns are my work packages. So every time you see that you have some information on the work package responsible, the title of the work package together with the support function, so product tree and support function. And here you can find the work package number. And for each of these work packages, I have a split for my labor, hours and costs, facilities, other direct costs, etc. So this is now taking into account all companies. So this one here, you see, was company A and EADR, and then I can keep going. This one is for the ITT 12, this one for the ITT 13, this one for the ITT 1 to 2, etc., etc. So you can choose per company, per contract, per ITT, per responsible company, per work package responsible. There is quite a lot that you can do here. The PSSA 10 will be introducing you the manpower and cost plan. So looking at the options, we can in fact choose a bit more here because we can split it per contractual phase, WBS number, subcontract and work package responsible. We can also choose how many number of levels we want to break down this cost plan. And most importantly, here we can choose the report period. We can choose to define the cost plan per year, quarter, per month, or per T0 plus N months, which means that instead of having exactly the number of months, because sometimes you can have a change at the beginning of your contract, and it would be very tedious to have to rename each work package according to the months. So you can choose the option T0 plus N, which basically would just give you the months plus 1, months plus 2, months plus 3, etc. And then finally you can choose the reporting period, from which months to which months do you want to create this report. So let's see how it looks like. Here. So you see here is really your manpower, your costs, broken down per time period. In this case, while I prepared this PSSA 10, I've selected per year. So here I'm able to find all of the years that I've been taking into account in my training. And I have here the sum of all the years, right, from 2012 to 2018. So this will also be matching our other forms. And please note that normally if you're producing all these PSS forms, the totals should always be the same from one form to the other. The total price to ESA should remain unchanged. The way of breaking down the price is specific to each report. So now we see here ITT1, company A, company B, D, and every time, also for your budgetary subcos, we see that it's empty. Okay. Well, I don't see any failures because it seems to work. Okay. So here was your PSSA 10. And now the last PSS form that I would like to show you is the PSSA 15.1, which shows the price projection versus payments. So this is the one that was shown to you when we updated the graphs in our payment plan definition, if you remember. So here you can choose to prepare a payment plan per contractual phase. It's actually a good practice. And you can also find a way to report split it by year, quarter, months of T0 plus N. So in this case, it depends. I think T0 plus N is always a good way to show the reporting per month. I think in my case for this training, I've done it per year. And you can also choose here your start and end period. So let's see here our report. So we can follow. And what we can see here is that we have our major milestones, we have our expenditures, the cumulated one, and the payment plan. Here we have the cumulative payments, and basically by looking at this graph, we can see if the payments that are requested will cover the expenditures. So here, I believe there is a difference because some subcontractors are already directly paid by ESA. But if we look at the case of here, the payment plan by itself that we can produce by initiating the report 5405, this PSSA 15.1 compares the price versus the payment. Here, we'll really be able to see our payment plan and to compare our payment milestones to see if they reach the 100% that's requested. If you want, we can even try to issue quickly the payment plan. Then I show you, we can do a preview to see how it looks like. So you see here we can choose per year in common currency from 2012 to 2018 for all phases. So I think by default it will be all. And let's preview. don't know if we see very well. 200, yes. So you see here you're able to retrieve your payment plan that reaches the 100%, and under it you can see in details your payment milestones. So this was it for the PSS forms. Now the second type of reports that we can be producing from ECOS are the standard reports. So these reports are more specific to ECOS, and each of them will have also a configuration window that will allow you to define the scope and the format that you want to give to the forms that you will be building. So having a look at this list, I've put them in separate boxes. So you can choose between the reports that starts with 5.1. So just to illustrate what I'm trying to explain here, I lost my mouse. Okay. Is that when I go in the reports menu here, I don't know if I can click at the same time. So you have here your PSS forms, and on top you have here some standard reports. They all have four numbers associated to it. So you have the report 5.1, which are the one related to the project information. The 5.2 are related to the work package data. The 3 are related to the price breakdown. And here you have some other specific reports. So I've listed them here. So I will try to show you here the most important reports. But basically I've tried to put a color coding just for you to get familiar with these reports. So in green are the reports that are mandatory to have most of the time. You can see here this is the Exhibit A and the travel plan, which corresponds to our Exhibit A and Exhibit B of the PSSA2. Then in blue are good to have, I would say. These are reports that can give you a reasonably good level of information. For example, at project level, you may want to check your product tree work breakdown structure or your organizational breakdown structure that will be automatically split per boxes. You can have a view on your Gantt charts produced with your start dates and end dates. Have a look at the ITT listing of your ECOS file. You can also, at price level, have a price breakdown per work packages, or at WBS level, you can have some tasks definitions, geographical distribution, or ECOS quality control. This is based on my own assessment, so please do not narrow these slides. This is really just for me to try to tell you what has been the most useful for me. But of course, each of these reports have their own information to show, and can hold very useful information as well. But for the case of this training, I will present you this view. And also here, I've put some purple stars. This means that these reports are kind of duplicated in ECOS. They have brothers. For example, here is the Exhibit A. As you've seen, the Exhibit A is in fact an annex of the PSSA2, but it can also be produced as a separate report here, which is the report 5203, and will give you a list in Excel of the Exhibit A notes. Also, your travel plan can be Exhibit B of the PSSA2, or here the report 5208. Then the 5306 manpower and cost plan. If you remember, this is corresponding to our PSSA 10. 5303, the price summary. So this one is, I believe, the PSSA 6. Then 5402, you have the rate file from project. This is corresponding to the PSSA 1. And here your payment plan can be associated to the PSSA 15. So this is another way for you to prepare your reports, but it's important to note that some are equivalent to others. So I have not printed this specific report, mainly because it takes a lot of space, time, and at the end, I really believe that through this slide, you will be able to understand what can be the split that these reports will provide. So the 5103, for example, you see the PTWBS. The 5104, you can have a split of your organizational breakdown structure. So here, following your industrial scenario, you will be able to see who is your subcontractor, what's his company code, at which phase of the product tree is he involved, and what type of price. So in fact, I believe this project report is quite useful to produce. You can here double check your Gantt chart as well. Here the list of ITTs that are part of your ECOS file. Then at work package level, the most important ones here are the Exhibit A notes and the Exhibit B travel plan. The reports 53 are showing here price breakdowns. So let me see which one I introduce. I think yes, I introduced those. So the reason why this is colored is because in cost engineering we have some macros that we apply in order to shape the Excel reports in a way that is more evaluator friendly. But in your case, you would simply have an Excel download with no fancy colors. But basically this report, the 5301, would give you a very, very detailed level of breakdown per work package level. You would have titles and a lot of different informations on was the company responsible for the work package, and here all of the breakdown of your price, hours, labor, facilities, etc., together with the start date and end dates. So this report is very complete and could be useful for you to create some graphs in Excel to check the reasonability of your data or the one of your subcontractors. Here we will have slightly the same information, but the very good layout available in this report is that you can choose to have the split of the WBS nodes. So this is very good because it allows you to have an overview of your product, right? So here we have the node B broken down for phase B1, B2. It's really good also to have the breakdown, and it will be useful for you and for the evaluators to see the in a glance hours and cost. Basically, this is the information you will get from this WBS summary. You can also produce the companies and tasks report, and this can be extremely useful if you want to have the tasks assigned to your subcontractors. So here it's indeed very useful to see how much has been spent for project office, what's the percentage of engineering, is there MIAT involved or not, was it some reserve, management reserve included in the file, are there some undefined work packages, means probably budgetary subcosts that should have been replaced by a tender file. So this really gives you an overview of the tasks of the support functions related to each of the companies. So it can be useful for you to check your own, but also to have a look at the one of your subcontractors, because you may spot some discrepancies that you want to arrange. And finally, the reports 54, which are others. They have they're mixed reports, I would say. But out of those, for me, the most important one is the one on the geographical distribution. So here, you remember we entered some geographical distribution at the beginning, and we will be able to see in reality what happened with the elaboration of our file. So we have the companies listed, we'll have our share per country in euros and in national currency, and we'll be able to see if we are or not matching the geo return requirements. So that's it now for the reporting. Please don't forget to attach, together with your PSS forms, your ECOS tender answer, your .ten file, for the proposal to be valid and receivable. Now I will be driving you through the advanced features, which is the last part of this training, in fact, and I will give you a quick overview of these features. If you want to have a detailed training, I invite you to follow the self-training manual, because there all of the advanced features are explained in details. But for the purpose of this training, I just wanted to present one slide per feature with the main idea of the associated feature, the process behind, and what it is doing in the frame of ECOS and how it can help you. Some of them we've seen already during the training, so we can just have a reminder. Some we have not seen, so I will briefly explain you what they are, and then we'll be able to conclude this training.